Well, hey, mamas. Hello, hello. There we are. Hey, we are here for our third and final video in the series about supporting your teens' study sessions. Our focus today is two parts. Number one is quiz your teen. Okay, if your child's like, hey, I already know this, I don't need to study, we're going to talk about how to quiz your team and have them prove their knowledge. The second part is to realize that your teen might say, I don't need to study because he's really scared and he's really overwhelmed, really confused, and needs a lot of help, but doesn't want to say, hey, look, I don't want to study because I just don't get it. Okay. So I'd love to know, what is your first thought when your child says, hey, mom, I don't need to study? All right. Let me know down below. And do know, as we are at the end of the semester, finals are here. If you want your teen to actually know how to study, you want your teen to have awesome study sessions like that actually are effective and help your teen with that test, with learning that material, let's talk. There's a link for a free consultation in the description. All right, so let's talk about this idea of quizzing your teens. Okay, if you've been on my channel, on my page for any time at all, you know that I'm a study skills tutor. I teach teens how to learn through study skills. And part of helping teens personalize their learning is knowing how they learn, aka which learning style, which preference, whatever word you want to use. But do know we've got the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic learners. And something like quizzing your teen is going to go to their learning style. Okay. If your child's very auditory, like a verbal conversation, like having your teen explain this concept, how to do the problem, some kind of talking, some kind of conversation is a really good way to quiz your teen. Okay. Something as simple as you having the study guide here and saying, okay, what's this? Or asking a question and they give you the answer and you have like the study guide to check. Like that is a good way to test an auditory learner. For someone like me who's visual, that is a waste of time. Okay. The out loud back and forth conversation quizzing. There's no way I could tell you yeah, I could probably do it, but it's not going to go as well for me as if you hand me the sheet and I cover up my answers. Okay. Something better too for verbal, if you're like your mama and you're like, okay, I don't know if you really know what you say you know or not. Have your kid who's visual draw a picture. Have your kid label a diagram, like create a graph, do some kind of picture. Okay. That is going to help you know, does your teen really know what he says he knows? Okay. Now, our last learners are kinesthetic learners. They love to be hands-on. They love to be building and creating and moving. So there's a big difference between, say, like drawing a bridge and then building the bridge. Okay, if your teen was learning all about like physics or different building materials or like different math and like angles, like all of those things, your teen could only build that bridge if he understood the material, if he's kinesthetic, and has to tie in all these different components that he's studied and actually understands. Okay. So that is the first thought for you when your teen says, hey, I'm good to go. I don't need to study. I understand. Quiz your teen. But remember, we want to quiz your teen based on their learning style. Okay. Now, another component to consider is your child might be auditory, but that test might not be auditory. So how does your teen going to learn the information? Well, he's going to have to learn it with his learning style, study using his learning style, but then be ready to adapt on test day. So that's when I come in and help teens go, okay, well, this is how it's being presented. This is what I'm supposed to know and how I'm supposed to know it. But how do I use what works for me and still be successful on this test, on this presentation, even on this homework assignment? Okay, so we can definitely talk about that one-on-one through free consultation. Now, before we talk about this overwhelm concern and the confusion concern, I want to say thanks for watching here on Facebook. Thanks for watching here on YouTube. I'm Jessyka Coulter, the CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring, and I would love to have you as a follower. I would love to have you as a subscriber, because with it being final season, like I tell you, I've brought on 5 new students and probably going to bring on a couple more before the next week is up. And they all have one goal, and that is to save as many grades this semester as possible and to do as well in finals as possible. So no one probably is going to get an A in some of these classes we're working on. There's just not the time. But at the same time, because they're learning study skills as we're doing this last minute work, that next semester is going to start off way better than it would if we had not started working together this week or even a couple weeks ago. So if you want the same for your teen, I'm here. There's all sorts of awesome resources here on Facebook and YouTube under the Ace Cookie Tutoring page and channel. All right. So Overwhelm. All right. Your teen, if he's got really bad grades, like I was just mentioning, or maybe he thinks he's going to be studying for hours and hours and hours, that can feel pretty overwhelming. Okay. When your child just feels like there's no end in sight, well, then it seems kind of pointless to study. If your teen thinks, I need 4 hours and I only have 30 minutes, well, we have to help your teen change his thoughts and realize, oh, what can I do in this 30 minutes? Yeah, it's not the full time I think I need, but this 30 minutes is better than nothing. And we also have to help your teen realize, okay, what's the best use of this 30 minutes that I have right now? Okay, because our teens sometimes will just pick something they like, something that's easy to them, and not study what they really need to because they don't know how to prioritize, because they don't know how to manage their time, because they don't know how to stay focused and organized. Again, those are all study skills that I help with. Okay. Now, as to confusion, sometimes our teens don't even know what to study, and then they don't have the right study materials. Okay. It's not just study materials as in using things matching their learning style, but sometimes they have taken incorrect notes or they have the wrong answers on the homework assignments. It's really, really, really bad to study the wrong information. Okay, I had to learn the hard way myself that as a visual learner with a teacher who talked a lot in history, I would sometimes write things down that I heard and then I heard them incorrectly, and then I studied the wrong material. And that can be a big problem when we're talking about like your teens saying they don't need to study, or your teens having a real reason for saying it's boring or they don't like it. And for me, I had to learn, okay, I go ask the teacher and make sure I got like the gist, like building that into my school routine, my study routine, and also finding out what kids in class were way more auditory than I was. Okay. But your teen also might just need to have someone help him fill in the blanks. It could be, yeah, he's got the right information, but he's just not getting it. Well, that's sometimes when that study skills and those learning styles come into play. Because if your teen's got all the right information, like the packets are from the teacher, right? Like maybe it's even the teacher was nice enough and posted them online, and the students are hopefully checking their answers to what was posted. Sometimes it happens, but a lot of times it doesn't, I've noticed. And the question is, your teen has all this information. How is he going to learn it? Okay, like what does he need to do to get it from here, this packet of papers, to then in his brain so it makes sense? So then the quiz, so the test, whatever goes well. That's when it's important for your teen to go, here's a packet of papers, and then this is what I need to do to learn. Okay, so lots of things to consider when your teen says, I don't need to study. Lots of things to consider when your teen says, I already know this. Do know quizzing your teen is a great way to see, do they really need to sit down and study? But then also knowing that they might be confused, they might be overwhelmed. But please, please, please do know there are so many different ways to study, okay? There's so many different activities and different things that qualify as study. So if you're confused, you want to know, why does my teen not study? And like, what does study really mean, really look like for my child? That's why I would love for you to schedule a free consultation. So go to that link in the description, choose a day, choose a time that works well for you and your teen. Because I think it works best if all three of us can talk, and let's find out how we can help your teen have better study sessions so your teen learns more and actually loves to learn. Thanks so much, mamas. Have a good night and see you in the next video.